Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's November 7th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We have British Columbia, Washington, Oregon over here to the right. You can see the very cold air spilling out across the Gulf of Alaska. As we go on and through later portions of this weekend and through next week, we are going to get shots of this cold air. We're going to have an active storm track pointed at the Pacific Northwest. But in the meantime, we've got some pretty nice weather coming in. You can see the lenticular cloud activity, mountain wave action across some of British Columbia. Some of that will be moving down over Washington and Oregon over the next day or two. But again, some nice sunshine will be present today before we start to bring the precipitation chances back as we go towards this weekend, and then stronger storm systems through next week. So let's take a look at things here. We have some fog out there across some of the Puget Sound, Southwest Washington, down towards the Willamette Valley, and some typical places here across some of Northeast Washington, Idaho, and Montana. You can also see the clouds right off the coastline here, this weakening frontal system as it approaches. Now, taking a look at this really quickly, you can see the fog here on the North American High Resolution model. It does show up across the Sound and some of the Willamette Valley, but that will be burning off today for anybody that is underneath that right now, and we should have nice, glorious, sunny skies here across the region. We go into Friday morning, maybe a little redevelopment there as well, but not looking overly foggy for much of the region. And just a reminder, if you want to buy a nice affordable home weather station, this one is probably the best for the price, and it's got all kinds of neat things. It's got an ultrasonic anemometer, a haptic rain gauge, a thermometer is very accurate. It's all solar powered, very attractive unit as well, and it's got a great and exceptional smartphone app. Stores all the data for you in the cloud for free, and yeah, I highly recommend this one. It's even got a lightning detection system on it that works very well. So click on that link down below for 10% off if you'd like one. Now, a little bit of housekeeping here. We are going from wind chill watches, warnings, and advisories. We're changing that up. It's going to be called an extreme cold watch, extreme cold warning, and a cold weather advisory here. So there's not going to be any more of the wind chill warnings out there. So just a heads up for that. I'll probably talk about that if that comes up again eventually at some point this winter. Look at Seattle yesterday, 55 degrees, lots of sunshine out there, no precipitation. But again, that will be changing as we go through next week. November is our rainy month. We average up over 6.3 inches of rain for Seattle during the month of November. And some portions across the Pacific Northwest get much more during that time frame. So this is that transition that we're going to be looking at Sunday through Monday. Mountain snow and valley wet rain will be returning. Some gusty conditions will be returning as well. You can see the snow levels still challenging some of the passes here, but some of the higher passes are likely to get some snowfall, and especially across some of the higher terrain. Now, if we take a look out in the extended a little bit here, you can kind of see Bellingham with the frontal system here at some point on Sunday night into Monday morning, then another one potentially. And you can see some of these bigger wind gusts that kind of randomly show up in the ensemble members here, kind of showing that there is that potential for a stormy period coming up. And of course, as we get closer to this, they'll get better model agreement depending on if we trend stormier, or of course, if we trend more towards some high pressure or some ridging or whatnot. So that's what we're going to be watching here over the next few days. And I'll show you that starting right now, actually, with the extended forecast. Got this ridge of high pressure right now, giving us our nice weather in the meantime for much of the region. And we've got kind of this decaying system that's moving in as we go through this weekend. I'll bring some clouds and some precipitation with it, especially for BC. I'll show you that here on the next slide as well. But look at what is coming for us as we go through the end of the weekend and through Monday. A much colder shot of air aloft is going to roll through the region. Powerful frontal system with that. And then we've got additional powerful systems as we go through next week. You can see another one arriving. The trough hangs out for a bit as we go on into the later portion of the week. And then another strong system showing up in the European models here as well, and you can see that trough hanging out. Additional storm development. We're just getting 1, 2, 3 like bullets flying at us here as we go through the extended forecast. So yeah, we're going to get active here as we go through the next couple of weeks. And you can see already National Weather Service has excessive rainfall outlook for day 4 that includes western Washington, portions of Oregon. This would include British Columbia as well. And here's day 5. That's going to get upgraded, no doubt, as we go on in through the early portion of next week. Now let's take a look at some of the timing of this precipitation and what some of these storms look like. I showed you what was going on at 18,000 feet. This is what's going on at the surface. These are pressure lines known as isobars here at the surface. Now, if I put in, of course, the tighter these are, the windier and stormier it is. So here's our ridge of high pressure over us right now. But you can see as we go through today and tonight, British Columbia kind of, it's not overly heavy, but just kind of persistent precipitation as we go through the day Saturday. Then that eventually sags south across Washington and Oregon. And then our stronger frontal system moves in as we go through Sunday night. This is about, 10 p.m. Sunday night. And you can see this deep low out over the Gulf of Alaska, powerful frontal system driving into the Pacific Northwest. This would make some big waves off the coastline here as well. We'll be checking that out as we get a little bit closer to it. But you can see very cold air aloft will be with us as we go on in through Monday afternoon. We continue that onshore very cold air aloft flow as we go through Tuesday. Another potent system rolling in here towards Vancouver Island as we go through the mid portion of next week with a strong frontal system. Big rainfalls, again, maybe some big wave makers, and again, some snow for the higher terrain. And you can kind of see that northwesterly flow continues. And we look way off into the fantasy forecast, and you can see another very strong low as we go towards next weekend here. So yeah, it is November, and we are active and go way off into fantasy land here, and you can see additional storms there. Not going to worry about that too much. But here's the 15-day precipitation anomaly, and you can clearly see the bullseye here for the Pacific Northwest. This is our rainy month, folks, and we are supposed to be well above average. So we could really be in for a wet November if what the models are showing right now are correct. But of course, when you look that far off on the forecast, you're going to be dealing with some uncertainty. And if we look at the GFS ensemble mean, it does show above average, but you can see it's a little bit more of a mixed bag here across some of the regions. So that's something we'll be watching, and we'll be breaking down those storms one at a time, day by day. Taking a look at the National Blend of Models, excuse me, a little bit of a frog in my throat this morning. If you take a look at this, I want to kind of time some of this snowfall rolling in here. You see a little bit coming for the higher terrain as we go through Saturday night. Not too big of a deal. It should be across just most of the higher terrain. Shouldn't be affecting the passes too much. But as we go on in through Monday morning, you see some of that starting to pile up for Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, right on the fringe of it again here. Early season stuff. The snow levels are going to be a bit higher, but you can see some decent amounts, especially across the higher terrain. But we're not looking at any lower elevation snowfall event just yet. But even some of the coastal range of Oregon picking up some snow, nice coating there for the Olympics. And of course, we can always use this across the higher terrain of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon. It's very nice to see some Blue Mountains, Eastern Oregon, higher terrain getting the action, and some of the Rocky Mountains also. So active period is incoming. Here's the 6 to 10 day near normal, which is, is still pretty chilly here across Pacific Northwest, big below normal here across some of the Pacific Northwest and the Southwest. Here's the above normal here that's kind of bullseyed the Pacific Northwest. And like I showed you here, if you watch that, it makes kind of sense here looking at this. 8 to 14 day, we got the west with the below average and much of the lower 48 above average as we go through November 20th. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to get active again here as we go through the end of the week, and some powerful storms have their eyes on the Pacific Northwest. Not going to get into any detail just yet, but we'll take a look at that again tomorrow, and we will break down that frontal system arriving Sunday night and see what kind of wind potential we have, what kind of rainfall, big wave action, mountain snows as we go through Monday. So typical stuff here. So anyway, I hope you guys are liking the channel. Click like and subscribe.